Galen, how you doing?
Doing okay, Oni. I'm doing okay. It's been a while.
It's been 100 episodes, to be specific.
It has been. Happy 100.
It's an arbitrary number and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This is going to be an awful episode, just prepping everybody. Don't be like, this is 100 episodes spectacular, whatever.
Hey, they've listened to us for 100 episodes. They should know what they're expecting.
We've both had a rough day, though, so this is going to be even more embarrassing than it usually is.
Oh, yeah.
So, to start off in the cold open before the show really starts, by the way, welcome if this is your very first episode 100.
Yeah.
It could be. Sometimes that happens. Skip ahead to the future stuff if you really want to be like, okay, let's see these people talk about games and I'll see if I want to keep listening to them or not. Anyway,
future.
Starting off with the story time, I want to share a little story about when I went to Japan when I was 19, when I moved there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Galen, you know about Japan.
I have been there. I do know of the Japan.
Right, and you know that it is a country long and skinny from top to bottom.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
Interesting descriptors. Go on.
So I'm moving to Japan. I get on the little plane, have a little meal, and get there. I have 2 checked bags, 1 carry-on. Now, I thought this would be totally fine and totally, manageable throughout my travels.
Okay.
It was not. As soon as I got there, I didn't know how just tired I would be from such a long flight. I had never flown that far, that long. It's basically like a day. And so I get to the carousel to get my checked bags off the carousel, and this sweet old Japanese lady is like, oh, there's carts over there. You can go get a cart and then bring it over so that way you can carry all of your bags in one cart. And so I was like, oh, okay, sure. Just naive, completely jet-lagged and not mentally present me. I go over there and I come back, and then she's like, here you are. I waited for you by the bags, and then here's your stuff. I watched your bags for you. You got the cart and everything. And then she wished me to have a nice time in Japan. And I was like, great, thank you. That was number 1 where I could have been completely taken advantage of in this story.
Yeah, I'm surprised, how much, how many artifacts have been smuggled into your bag in that 30 seconds you were gone.
Granny could have gotten real greedy when it came to some awful pre-coming out fashion of the Oni Dino.
Those were dark days.
You were there.
Yeah, those were dark days.
Demon days, some may say.
Unironically wearing those, what were they, like Klinko jeans, or the ones with the huge ass pant
Oh,
legs?
don't, Galen, you're embarrassing yourself even more.
Hey, you were the ones who were wearing them.
Hey. So was everybody else. Okay. Anyway, the story is not about the jeans. Listen, we've both had a day. I didn't think I was going to be insulting you, but look at this precedent you're starting off in the very beginning of the episode, man.
Hey, 100 episodes.
What else is new?
It wouldn't be a podcast without you insulting me.
I get past the customs agents, who were lovely. Everybody so far was lovely. I step out. It is just... Now, I was coming from Chicago, and that's hot and humid there. I went to Tokyo, and that is hot and humid over there.
Yes, it is no comparison.
Well, it is a comparison.
Well, okay, let me put it this way. So
No, don't put it anyway, okay?
You have Japan...
I have Japan,
Chicago.
yes, in my pants. My J&Co pants.
Chicago is very, very hot and a high level of humidity. Japan is very hot and a very, very high level of humidity. Those 2 numbers are both high to begin with, but they switch.
Okay. It's basically tropical.
Yes.
So I get past the customs agents. I'm like, well, these bags, how am I going to make it all the way there to the real world of Tokyo? There's a joke for anybody around the age 30. God, that show does not exist anymore. Anyway, oh my God, I just realized that was basically my life for at least a year when I lived in that guest house. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's another story for another
that.
time. I find that there in the Narita airport a baggage delivery service. Basically, it's pretty fairly priced. It's, I think, somewhere around $30 per bag or something like that. And they deliver the bag to you like a day later or maybe 2 days later. I don't remember, but it's just very, very fair. So I sign up for that. I put 2 bags over there, and I just carry my carry-on bag, which is a pretty large carry-on bag. It was not a backpack, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm all good. I'm like, I got all my stuff I need, for a couple of days. And I go off on my way. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make my way to Tokyo proper and get in my apartment that I reserved online.
Making your way downtown.
Walking fast, Kao past, and I'm ie ni muku.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
I'm just on the fly. I was like trying to remember the words to that song and also translate them to something meterable. Anyway, Galen, this is terrible.
Yeah.
A terrible, terrible cold open. I told you, everybody, this is going to be the worst episode. Anyway, walking away, going over to get on the Skyliner, which is a fast, rapid thingy to get to the main Tokyos. And then the agent comes running up behind me, and he's like, oh my god, sir. And he's like, your passport. And I was like, ah! I had left my passport just in the carousel case over there. And thankfully, these nice people of Japan saved me twice, and I'm not even out of the airport yet.
It all went downhill from there.
I get on the Keisei Skyliner and make my way to Nishi-Nippori. And then at the station of Nishi-Nippori, I need to transfer to the Yamanote line in Tokyo. Now, for those unfamiliar, the Yamanote line is a big circle.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stop. Can't stop, won't stop, might stop.
It's very interesting that their most popular line is a circle.
Because of their flag?
No, it's a line from point A to point B, but it's a circle, so it's not it's a geometry joke.
Jesus Christ! That was a good language joke.
How is that any off and random than the rest of this long and skinny segue of a story that you've been telling?
Anyway, well, that I'm trying to tell, but it's somebody over here. So I get on the Yamanote line, and the line goes 2 ways because it's a circle. You can go, basically eastbound, westbound, whatever. Okay. And the place that I need to go to was Shinjuku. I went the wrong direction. And so that means that I'd get there in due time. I would just get there slower than the other way because, it's a circle. I get on there, and then I end up talking to a nice gentleman sitting next to me. And I think he was a photographer or something. I don't know. He handed me his card. And he was like, oh, this is your first time in Japan, and you're going to school here, and blah, blah, blah. And then I told him I was going to Shinjuku. He's like, oh, you're going the wrong way. He's like, here, come with me. We'll get off, and I'll take you to Shinjuku. I'm going sort of in that direction. I'm like, thank you, good people of Japan. Number 3. We get on, and I'm just like, I have no idea where I'm going. This is my first time in Tokyo. And I'm just like, okay, just trust stranger and go on strange new train. Yay. And we get to Shinjuku, and he's very kind, and he gives me his card. I never contact him again. I was too embarrassed. I go to Shinjuku to go to the agency that owns my apartment. I get all the papers, I sign the lease, and they give me the instructions for finding the place, the information about, just general Japanese customs, garbage day, which, taking care of garbage in Japan is extremely strict, especially in Tokyo. It's extremely strict. They give me stuff about just general papers for all the people that go to stay at their agency, stuff about the common room, and just papers like that. We'll get back to that paper. So I leave from the Shinjuks, go back to the Yamanote line. I take it the correct way. I'm proud of myself. Get to Shibuya, the Shibis, and then I have to transfer lines again. I'm going to the Toyoko line, southbound. I need to go to Toritsu Daigaku for people who are familiar with the Tokyo-kyo. The Yamanote, nope. The Toritsu, nope. The Toyoko line, there we go. It's a rough one. The Toyoko line has 3 types of trains: a super express, an express, and a local. The particular station I'm going to only has locals stop at that station. I get on the wrong one. I know that this is the information. I thought I got on the right one. I got on the wrong one. I ended up talking to a nice lady on the train. This is number 4. And she is telling me she's visiting her boyfriend or something like that. She's gonna go see him. She gives me a piece of soda pop gum, which is the most disgusting thing I've ever put in my mouth. She then is like, okay, let's get off this train and we'll get on another one. You're going the wrong type of train. I'm like, okay, new stranger. Just everyone take me. Take me like I'm perfume. Then she waves me goodbye and tells me to have a nice time in Japan. I get to the correct station I need to go to. I follow my little hand-drawn map, get over to, I'm looking at house numbers. Tokyo is interesting just because of how old of a city it is. The streets and stuff are not grid-like many people in the United States are familiar with. It is octopus-shaped. It is a taco, no, katachi, okay. So, find the building. I'm looking at the numbers. Finally find the building. I walk in, and it's really nice. And it's the common room, right? There's this area where, you walk in, and then there's the step up into the house. And that's where you take off your shoes, and you put your shoes in. I'm like, I finally made it after, hours and hours from, Narita Airport to there. So, take off my shoes, set my bag down. The maid service or something is vacuuming in the other room or something. And so I go to take a step up. Around the corner walks an elderly Japanese man in his underwear, and he screams. And I scream back. And we both stop. We stare at each other for what only could have been a literal eternity. I then grab my papers that the agency gave me from my bag because I'm suddenly thinking, I am in the wrong spot. They gave me the wrong directions to the wrong place. So I grab my papers. And I read the address and I'm like, is this the blah, blah, blah house and the blah, blah, blah number? And he's like, yes. And we just stare at each other again. Oh, so confused. Meanwhile, my hands, I have this paper and my hands are shaking like I got super Parkinson's. And I'm like, the Sakura agency? Where do I go from here? And he's like, that is in the back. And I vaguely understood him. I was like, okay. I am sorry, elderly Japanese man in your underwear holding a vacuum cleaner. I awkwardly put on my shoes, lace them up, as he just stood there watching me, the weapon choice of vacuum cleaner in his hand, and I left in the most awkward way possible. I went around the building, saw the apartments. I thought that place that I walked into, that man's private home, was the common room to get to the apartments because the damn agency gave me a paper talking about common rooms, but that was a general paper for people who live in guest houses or whatever. I don't know. That would not have happened. That would not have happened if they had not given me that piece of paper that said common room. I would have walked in and been like, oh shit, and then left without anybody seeing me. He thought some Gaikokujin Dorobo was coming in his house to steal all of his okane. I see the apartments, I go up. My key unlocks the door. I am so relieved. I get in, I put my bags down, I turn on the light, I see 4 cockroaches. Biggest I've ever seen before. Dash away. I go to the convenience store. I passed on the way there. Grab some roach spray. What I hoped was roach spray. I couldn't read it. Or rather, I could. I just didn't know that the word cockroach before I went to Japan.
Now
I knew it after I left Japan. I knew that word after I left Japan. I came back, I assaulted them, I sat down on the floor, I cried, and I passed out. Galen, what's your story?
I'm still waiting for you to get to the part where you are doing karaoke with Bill Murray, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I'm Bill Murray.
Wait. No, wait. Aren't you Scarlett Johansson in this, everything?
Sure. Sure.
I am speechless. I am actually speechless. It took you 100 episodes to get there, but I'm speechless.
All right. Downhill from here. Hello, my kids and my squids. Taking it back old school. Probably gonna leave that in, I'm sorry.
You want me to take over the beginning of the show?
Oh, do we want it to be worse? My name is Oni Dino. Well, friends, thank you for joining us, the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 100. I'm an embarrassment. With me, it's my best friend. I hate him. It's Galen.
Fellow desperate weirdo.
You're an embarrassing weirdo.
I'm an embarrassing weirdo.
Yeah, I'm the desperate weirdo.
I noticed that title that I have acquired of embarrassing weirdo as opposed to desperate weirdo. I'm honestly fine with being an embarrassing weirdo.
We know.
So.
And we know. Friends, we're a weekly show. Episodes go live every Sunday.
He is like this every week.
I don't see any need to do it again. We have a Discord. This is our 100th episode, and we're going to celebrate with a Discord announcement. The official, unofficial, totally not related to Nintendo Everything, Nintendo Everything Podcast Discord. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
What is happening to my brain? It's the senility.
I think you left it in Japan. Oh god, the senility. You're just gonna be naked with a vacuum.
Hey, you know, take me out of this world like I came into it, you know what I mean? Please check the description of this episode for the links to our Discord. We want everybody to come on over there. I think that we have a lovely, especially over 100 episodes, couple of years we've been doing this, we have a lovely community of wonderful listeners, and I would love for some of you, well, all of you, to meet each other and just kind of create a nice little community where people can share stuff about media, about video games, general life stuff, and also Galen has some plans that he would really like to take off if you could light his fire.
Absolutely. I've been pitching the idea with Oni for the longest time of we should all get together and maybe plan out some, I don't know, community gaming nights or something like that. I think that would be a lot of awesome. So,
and I think that's a terrible idea, and that's why I've shut him down for the last 80 episodes. But prove me wrong. Come on over to the Discord, join. It's going to be a nice time.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll have to learn how to Discord.
Yes. You'll also have to learn how to game. All of our listeners will be able to beat you in video games.
This seems like a lot of work. This seems like a lot of work.
Anyway, we have to start the episode. It's like 30 minutes into the episode.
We took the wrong train somewhere, but we finally got to our destination of beginning the show. It's a line, but it's still a circle. Like, how does that work?
You've made...
Oh, it's so easy to break you today.
Welcome to our adventure log where we talk about the video games we've been playing this past week. Galen, where do you tweet about games?
You can always find me tweeting about games at Mobius087 on Twitter.
And I am tweeting and cheating on Twitter. I don't know. I'm just trying out words. Oni_Dino is my Twitter handle.
To be fair, your alliteration game is like on point today.
Why don't you tell me about something you talked about last week? A game called Among Us.
Okay, weird order. I didn't mention that last week, but sure.
That's the twist! You gotta keep up in this M. Night Shyamalan world!
You do like the twists. So, such as the twist that you will find in this particular game.
Huh!
So, yeah, I have been playing Among Us. This is kind of an older game. Came out mid-2018. Developed by a company called Inner Sloth. And this is a social deduction game. It has really been rising in popularity with a bunch of Let's Players and YouTubers and whatever kind of like finding this game and just having at it.
Galen, because this is developed by Inner Sloth, is that what drew you to this game?
It's true. You know, I have been told that my spirit animal is, in fact, a sloth. Two-toed, not three.
That's just not funny.
Neither was your question.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I literally have no memory of what I just said, even.
That checks out.
Something is happening in my brain. I don't know. I think I might have worms.
So, Among Us is like I said, it is a social deduction game. It's very similar to whodunit games like Mafia or Werewolves. The idea is that you are a crew on some sort of ship or research facility. Doesn't really matter. The setting just changes for whatever. Most of you are the crew. Your goal is to try to finish a certain number of tasks and be able to just make things go again. Among you, either 1 to 2 players, depending on how many people are there, are the imposters. Now, the imposter's goal is to basically kill everyone. So there's a number of ways that can happen. The crewmates have the ability to do a bunch of very simplistic mini games like connecting colored wires, making the wavelength of a radio signal match what it's asking for, stuff like that. Very, very simplistic, easy to understand at a glance.
Yeah.
Which is nice because the game doesn't give you any directions. This is very simplistic, very bare bones. It's just, you'll figure it out, go and do your thing.
What is the hook and like why is the YouTubing on this?
Well, the YouTube is on this because of how fun the personalities are of the people who are playing it, and just how absurd some of the accusations and the deductions that are going along with it are.
Okay.
So I have played a couple games of this, and I can already tell you that the way you want to play this game is with a group of friends. It does have a public kind of matchmaking format to it. If you want an experience with a game, go ahead, give it a try, but it is an entirely different beast playing this with other people. Because the personality of your friends and what you're expecting with that, like, you have this weird meta commentary that kind of goes into it of, hey, I know that Oni will lie through his teeth no matter what side he's on, so I can't trust anything he's saying when he's making accusations and saying this person is the imposter.
You don't know that. I'm literally the most trustworthy person in the entire world. I was voted that in high school.
Ah, yeah, the Trump approach. I see what you're doing there.
You horrid bitch.
And just like that, just moments like that, where you have these personality clashes, and they could both be telling the truth. Maybe somebody made the wrong guess. You never know, because
maybe somebody made a horrible accusation.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so fun. I would highly recommend checking out the Team 4-Star channel with their gameplay playthrough, because they have been playing this game a lot recently, and it is so fun watching all the people and seeing like, oh, hey, to this person, what is actually going on with this person? Who's the criminal, who's not? Because when you are playing, there's no communication with the other people. The only time you get to communicate with other people is either A, if somebody finds a dead body and reports it, which twist on that is that the killer can also report the dead body, so you can throw up false flags there. Or somebody hits the gigantic crew meeting button in the very center of the map, and everybody just swarms automatically no matter where they are, and it's just a matter of, okay, let's talk this out, and you all get the opportunity to vote somebody off and just kill that person. Yeah.
We no longer want to hit that.
Throw them into space, throw them into lava, throw them off the airship. Like, yeah, basically that's what's happening. So
I'm surprised this game is not called MILF Island.
It could be. I'm sure there's a couple of private rooms that are like that.
Yeah. Wait, so what kind of interface are we looking at? I'm thinking of like a Clue kind of thing.
Almost. I mean, it's very simple. It's made for iOS and Android. So you can play it on your phone, and it is free to play on there. There's a paid version for like $5 that gets rid of the ads, but it's very simple. There's also a computer version on Steam, $5 again. Boom, you've got the full game, everything's unlocked. And that's also what I really appreciate, is that there are costumes and hats that your character can wear. Literally everything is unlocked right from the get-go. There are little to no microtransactions that are involved in this entire process.
Little to no.
So
one of those is true, one of those is not. Are we playing Among Us right now?
So there is one extra thing where you can have pets, which are just little guys that follow you around.
I know what a pet is.
From what I can tell, that is a microtransaction thing, but there's only like 4 of them, and they literally do nothing. They're just cosmetic, and it's understood that they do nothing to the game. They're just there to make your character look wacky. But the fact that they're in such small supply, and with the rising popularity of this game, they have not added more stuff or capitalized off of that. They've been very adamant on staying, hey, we're not going to change the game just because a lot of people are playing it now. We are standing by the way that we developed this game from the beginning, which I can definitely appreciate.
I'm not clapping my hands.
No, not yet. But you're not scowling as much as you usually do. So.
Galen, yes I am. Look at my face. These lines.
Yeah. Well, those are just from age. Because 100 episodes, you're getting old. Regardless, I highly recommend
This is why I have the scowl lines.
I highly recommend checking this game out. It's not a Nintendo game, it's not a Switch game, and I've thought about it, and I don't know if this game would work on the Switch. The game is very easy to understand, and it could potentially make a good home on the Switch, especially for the portability aspect of it. However, a lot of the fun of this game is that communication and that debating back and forth on who do you want to throw out of the airlock, who do you not want to, what partnerships are going on, and everything like that. And I don't know if Nintendo's communication is strong enough in order to really support that kind of an atmosphere.
Well, as we'll find out later on, the Nintendo voice chat is not so widely supported.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But with that said, I still highly recommend this game. In fact, this is actually one of the games that I was thinking of pitching out as an idea for anybody who wanted to maybe have a community game night, because it's simple, and hey, like I said, it's a free game. Just download it to your phone. You can give it a try. So, yeah.
And that is Among Us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's a great way to kill like an hour. So...
The hours, they just keep coming back, and we have to keep killing them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They're like cockroaches.
Ah! How dare! How dare! So things that get killed and constantly come back are in this video game I've been playing. Prinny, can I really be the hero?
Pretties, dude!
Yeah, dude.
Dude! You're the hero too, dude.
No, wait, whatever. Prinny, Can I Really Be the Hero is originally a PSP game, and it just came out as a double pack, number 1 and number 2 for the Switch. I'm going to talk about number 1 this week, and then I think I'll probably end up talking about 2 next week. This is a offshoot of the Disgaea series. It is a 2D action platformer, kind of a precision platformer with a bit of a twist. It has a totally cynical and comedic story, very similar to the Disgaea tone, but you play the Prinnies, which are the souls of humans who were like thieves and criminals in their past lives. They're now taking the form of a penguin-like creature with bat wings who explode when thrown. They're very delicate. So the story is somebody eats Demon Lord Etna's super rare dessert, whatever the hell it's called. and it probably wasn't the Prinnies, we don't know who it was, but Etna gets super pissed off. The Prinnies are basically her punching bag. She then commands the army of Prinnies to go and collect ingredients to make something called like the Ultra Dessert or whatever. It's super dangerous, no one's ever made it, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. There's lots of wonderful self-deprecating jokes, just, hitting that cynical dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
You play as the Prinnies, so think of them as, and I know I'm going to use a niche character to describe another niche character, but stick with me on this. Think of the Servbots from Mega Man Legends, okay?
Yeah.
Replace their cute factor with equal amounts of pathetic, and you have the Prinnies.
You're changing out your Lego people for penguins.
So even if you're not into the main series Disgaea, there is still something here for you. If you find the characters charming and the type of humor like resonates with you may want to look into the Disgaea series and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the gameplay of this, there are, I think, 7 stages, and you platform through them. You get to the end, you fight a boss, you get an ingredient for the dessert, rinse and repeat. The twist here is that there's 6 different times of day that you can visit these 7 stages, and each time of day makes the stage's layout change, the monsters change, sometimes the bosses even change. So essentially there's like maybe 50 variations of stages to play. The mechanics are interesting. It is a tough platformer. You need all 1,000 lives that you have. Mm-hmm. So like that's kind of even a joke in itself. You start off with 1,000 lives. Those are literally Prinny's lives. Once one dies, it's dead. It blows up. And the controls are very deliberate, I will say. Some may call it stiff. I will call it deliberate.
One thing I want to touch on really quick before you go on.
Something you want to get behind.
I love the concept of you have an army of 1,000 Prinnies in order to get this task done, because just like you said, when the Prinnies die and explode, it's that individual Prinny that is passing on. But if I remember correctly, the beginning of the game, the main Prinny who's like heading up this entire operation is given like a magic scarf or something, and the only thing that scarf does is signify that this is the hero. And when that Prinny dies, another Prinny comes up, takes a scarf, and just moves on.
Yes, so. Almost entirely. The other thing that the scarf does, it also protects them from blowing up when they're thrown or basically handled.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the reason why you can get hit a couple of times in like standard difficulty. There's a hard difficulty where one hit kills you, and it's just, fuck that. Like, I am not doing that.
Well, and I just wanted to point that out because there's a lot, for those of you who may not be familiar with the game, there's a lot of other types of games out there that really kind of go into the roguelike of, hey, this person that you're playing, once they're dead forever. And it's like, no, all these things have the exact same personality. This is literally just a joke on the mechanic itself. So.
Yes, they're all really, really pathetic, and they talk hilariously. There's like, I think 3 or 4 voice actors that do all of their voices. And they're like, I don't know what we're gonna do, dude. So
I love Prinnies. I love Prinnies so much.
I do too. They're just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Maybe that explains why you and I are friends.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the deliberate controls. You play by this game's rules. Dead Cells it is not, okay? You need to commit to a jump even before you press the button. What I mean by that is that your jump has an arc, and you cannot deviate from that arc. So if you jump to the right, that's where you're going. You will always go to a very specific spot from where you jumped from.
Yeah. So
lining up your jumps and using your double jump to go in another direction, possibly, is key. You have only 3 directions you can jump. Left, right, or straight up. That's it. Now tell me. Paula Abdul. Yeah, Paula Abdul. And for attacks, because this is an action platformer, you attack with 2 swords on the ground. When you're in the air, you attack differently. Your Prinny hovers in midair for a couple of seconds, and you throw knives diagonally downward, and even the camera angle completely changes. I thought I had more to say about that, but that's really it. Okay, here we go. Another move that you have is the hip drop, or the ground pound. It doesn't deal damage, but it does stun enemies, and you can bounce off of them too. Several successful hip drops will net you an item from the item gauge that's in the bottom corner. So if you do it, enough times, you'll get maybe some points or maybe a health item. I guess lastly with gameplay, like there's also vehicles. You can ride them. There's one that's called the Gear Metal.
I don't remember that.
They're few and far between, and they completely change up the gameplay, and you only have them for just a couple of seconds. Or not seconds, but like less than a minute kind of thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a tank. There's the Gear Metal is like a pogo stick missile shooter. So it's not just like normal stuff. There's also like a floating, hovering tank as well. Now, you're going to need those 1,000 lives. You're going to die a ton, but the checkpointing in the stages is used really well. The checkpointing is like not too forgiving and also not too hard. So it's like just enough where you die and you're like, oh, I didn't want to die, but fine, all right, I'll show this damn game this time, that kind of thing, where, just one more try, that kind of thing.
It's a good compromise that just keeps you pushing on.
Absolutely. And that is really thanks to the fast loading and the great checkpointing in the levels. But I do have to also just like underscore that like the characters and the writing really carries a lot of this game because of like how flippant and charming it is. The gameplay is fun and addictive, but not like stellar. It's just this whole package is just a nice game and a good game for Halloween because of like the themes and like underworld, that kind of stuff themes.
Yeah, character design, it is very spooky in a very kid-friendly way.
Yeah. Even though the humor is really crude, like it's not like outrageously crude, but they talk about death and like just it's violent and stuff.
It's very oh god, I almost want to say macabre, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to.
No, that's more like grotesque.
Yeah.
It's Halloweeny.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's a good way to describe it.
A haunted ween, some may say. I'm having a great time. If you are interested in sort of puzzle platformers, like almost think of Whispers of like Ghost and Goblins, okay? But not as many enemies on screen at all times. It's a little more fair than Ghost and Goblins. Don't play it before bed. It won't relax you.
Now, one other question I did have for you. Did you play the original version, or is this your first time playing the game?
No, I played it on PSP as well. I just never beat it.
Okay. From what you remember of that experience, with it being a remake now...
it's not a remake, it's a port.
It's a port. But, I mean, how does it play on the Switch compared to what you originally remember it being?
So far, totally fine. I don't remember there really being any issues with the first game on PSP. I never played the second game.
Yeah.
But it plays totally fine. Like, it doesn't look particularly beautiful. I choked on that word. But it does have a very PlayStation or PSP charm to it. Reminds me of, the 3D polygons of Breath of the Wild. Nope. Breath of Fire 3. Did it. Did it.
You are all over the place today.
I'm losing my mind. That was Prinny, Can I Really Be the Hero? Let's go on to talking about more Prinnies in Prinny Crossing Prinny 2020. The Prin decision.
It's Animal Crossing, dude. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Animal Crossing. I cannot stress how invested I am with this latest update. Primarily, I just wanted to say I've gotten a lot more experience with the pumpkins, and the pumpkins are really kind of getting what is at the core of getting me invested into this.
The kabocha, some may say.
The recipes that you are finding are so versatile and so different compared to everything else you've been seeing in the game. The whole farming aspect of it and being able to plant your pumpkins, not knowing exactly what color it is that you're going to be getting until it starts to grow.
I love that, because there's actually those varieties in real life of kabocha.
Exactly. Yeah. I should point out, So with this latest update, there are actually 4 different colors of pumpkins. You've got your orange, your yellow, your green, and your white. Now, all of the spooky item recipes that you get in the game, they require the orange pumpkin. So your traditional one, that is the base of what you need to make everything. Now, traditionally in the game, you would use what's called a customization kit in order to change up the color. Sometimes you can add certain images to things, change it up to your own variety. Instead of that, how you are changing these particular items is you are using the different colors of pumpkins. So each one has a variety or a style of those 4. And because the jack-o'-lanterns are so
round.
I was going to say, like, present in the designs of everything. Like, you can make a little candy thing.
Same.
Like,
round, present in whatever you just said. I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. Please
sure.
go on. I'm interrupting you.
But as you change it to the various different colors, it also changes the face on that particular pumpkin as well. You can have, there's a spooky arch that you can make, and as you're changing the colors, the little bats that are on there can change to like spiders or something else as well. So
is there a depressed face?
there is actually. So
it's me.
It gives you a lot of incentive to just continue on and keep on farming these different colors to make that wide variety that you can have access to. It's really encouraging, and I'm just loving everything that's leading up to the big Halloween event at the end of the month. So yeah, I'm sure you'll hear me talk about this game again, because I'm having a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to the Halloween event that it builds up to, Galen. I want to see your designs and stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited too. I just set up all my archways. So beforehand, I had these stone arches that are very. Oh God, what are the
Stonehenge?
Yeah, they're Stonehenge arches.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, no, seriously.
So
they're
smart.
Stonehenge arches that I have customized with moss growing all over them. And I had a series of like 4 or 5 of them leading up to the center of my town that is all surrounded by like benches and a fountain. And I had these cherry blossom inspired paper lanterns that were hanging off of the side of them as decorations. Well, I've taken all of that down, and it's been replaced by these spooky arches with the stacks of pumpkins and scarecrows that are on the side of the arches as well too. So it's been a lot of fun, like changing the variety of my island around.
And now your island is stronger because gourds are clearly the best fruit.
Ah, man, it's not gourd related, but my wife
Then
just
I
made
don't want to
really,
hear
really
it.
tasty. She made a really, really tasty carrot soup the other day, and I'm really excited to eat that.
Well, there's a feather in your cap, Galen.
Yeah, my wife is an excellent cook.
She is. And here we are, Miss America in the news. I can't believe this is our 100th episode. Jesus Christ. We're recording at a different time than we usually do every week, because Galen, sometimes there's scheduling conflicts, we'll just say that.
Sometimes there are, yeah.
Sometimes it's somebody's fault. And, you do what you can. And that's why it's
Galen's fault.
There's not a whole lot of news so far for us to talk about unless something super crazy big happens on the Friday, like Rebecca Black.
And if it does, we'll be talking about it next week.
But the first big old stuff to talk about is the Monster Hunter Rise details we got. We also got Monster Hunter Stories 2 details out of this week. There was basically a bunch of interviews that the producer and director, everybody's interview came out at the same time. Clearly there was an interview embargo. Yeah. Lots of great questions were asked. I rounded up a bunch of information. I made a post of it on Siliconera. Oh, I forgot to mention that in the early beginning. Whatever. I'm tired, I am just surprised at how full in I am on Monster Hunter Rise. Something we heard about, though, that is certainly confirmed now is that there will be 14 weapon styles in this game. Apparently,
Yes.
that means that there are no new weapon styles, apparently.
But they did also focus a lot on the fact that the wire bug was developed with those weapons in mind, so there will still be some variety and versatility with playing these compared to the previous games.
Yeah, every weapon style will apparently have new attacks for it with the wire bug, so there is new play styles.
Mm-hmm.
Sorta.
Well, and I think that's also really smart because if I remember correctly, there was also a note on there that the development for this game and the development of Monster Hunter World, I want to say, were kind of going on at the same exact time.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like cross collaboration between the development teams that were going on there. So
yeah, it's interesting that I wonder, this is pure speculation. Well, whatever, that's all we do on this podcast. Sorry, my journalist brain is like going because I've been writing stuff on Silicon Era that I'm like, okay, of course, keeping it cut and dry and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, so whatever. But anyway, I'm wondering if they have more faith in a Monster Hunter game's sales on Switch than they did for Monster Hunter World on PS4. I mean, Monster Hunter World on PS4 sold crazy great. Like, it was a fantastic success, right? Maybe they didn't expect it to be such a success, but I'm just saying that because clearly this game had a longer development cycle. Potentially that's linked to budget, so potentially a higher budget just because of, not that like it's going to be more beautiful than Monster Hunter World or whatever, but just because like you had to pay people for longer to work on this.
Yeah. I don't know. I also think it just has a lot to do with that like collaboration of ideas. One of the other notes that they said on there was that the Asian aesthetic that they have made in this game wasn't exactly intentional at the very beginning. It was more just a coincidence with the developers being told, hey, just develop what you want and the design of what you want.
Yeah, I think it was more about the monster designs, to be specific, though.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a developer from one team said, hey, I've got this awesome monster, but it doesn't really kind of fit in this world. Can I put it in the other game as well? And they've been able to like throw ideas back and forth like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think that we have confirmation that that kind of situation happened, but it is very probable.
Yes.
What else do we want to talk about? On the topic of the monster designs, something I didn't really pick up on because I wasn't paying attention enough. Also, I am a fake historian of the Nihon. Is that a lot of the monsters that they've shown up so far have the redesigns inspired by traditional Japanese folkloric monsters, yokai, like the Yokai Watch yokai. So,
a lot of yokai inspirations.
So the bird, whatever that bird's name is, Aknasam. By the way, I'm really bad at remembering Monster Hunter names.
Monsters are all over the place.
They're just the names are crazy, man. So I don't remember, even though I played some games already. Aksanam's design was partly inspired by like those parasol yokai. Probably people have seen it. They're a really popular one. It's basically like the parasol that has like the really weird face on it and the tongue that's sticking out. Sometimes it's a foot instead of like the hilt of a parasol, and it's bouncing around. You see it in video games a lot. Mm-hmm. So then when I heard that and I went back and looked at Oxenam's design, like, what is it? Like the hair, basically. The hair on its head, but it's like a...
The plumage.
Plumage, yeah, sure. Thank you. That looks like the parasol kind of thing. It is like tapered. And also another thing that I just thought of is that what I really like about a lot of these monster designs is that they seem so, for lack of a better word, like realistic. Like they have that thing on its head that could clearly be like something that males have on their head that, show them off and make them look really flashy to attract a mate or something like that. It's just a very logical design for a monster,
Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about here? Any other points you want to hit on, Galen?
I mean, the only other thing that I really got from that is that the developers seem to focus a lot on talking about the wire bug, but saying that their motivation for making it came from a desire to make the exploration and the traversal in the game seem more fluid and less restrictive.
Yeah, they mentioned like expanding players' freedom of choice.
Yeah. And also
which is great. That's what's appealing me to this game.
Exactly. And they were also saying like they're really trying to do their best to avoid borders within the levels and to limit loading between the levels as much as possible. So it just seems once you're in the field, once you're on your way doing quests, there is very little between you and having the fun that the game has to offer. And I really appreciate the developers coming at this game with that as their stated focus.
Totes agree. Just this game looking really, really good. Can't believe I'm all in on it. I hope it doesn't let me down.
Mm-hmm.
Then Monster Hunter Stories, got a little bit of information about that. This one is Stories 2. All right.
Yes.
Don't be incorrect on the internet, Dino. This one
it's important to say that one of the first things they said was, hey, the original Monster Hunter Stories received a lot of positive feedback, enough to the point where they realized players wanted a sequel to it.
Yeah. The producer, Ryozo Tsujimoto, said that the game is definitely an RPG, which, because we didn't see any of the battle system, I was like, oh shit, have they overhauled the battle? Like, is it going to be action RPG, like, which Monster Hunter already is? So they did say RPG, so I'm hoping it's meaning like turn-based RPG.
Yeah.
They said that specifically of the battle system, since we're already talking about it, they're going to take the mechanics that worked in the first one and then like evolve them into something even better in this second game. So I think it really is going to be a turn-based game.
Yeah. They said that they really wanted not only the mechanics of the game, but also the narrative of the game to be a lot more clearly conveyed to the player.
Yeah, because the narrative in the first game was there, of course, but it just kind of, I don't know if it fell to the wayside, but it just didn't feel that important or that urgent or anything like that.
Yeah.
The trailer that we saw for Stories 2 already feels like it's going to be like a pretty serious story.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that direction too, like even with the character redesigns, is to appeal to a wider audience. They said the first game was very much aimed at a younger audience. This one is supposed to be like, cast a wide net, catch a lot of fish.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know. From what I read, the Monster Hunter Story 2 interviews and information was a little bit lighter than the other one, which makes a lot of sense because we know that Stories 2 is going to be much longer in development.
Yeah, it's only coming out in summer as opposed to Rise is coming out in like March.
Yeah. They did say that they can't say if there are going to be any monsters from Rise that will show up in Stories 2, but they still did confirm that there is going to be some crossover content and collaboration between the two. So
yeah, I hope it's good though.
It'll probably happen, but we'll have to wait for the specifics.
There were a lot of questions that they got asked that they were like, look forward to new announcements.
Can't say. Yeah.
Can't say.
I do appreciate, however, that they did say that you can leap into this game without having to play the first one.
Yeah, which is cool. I kind of wonder if maybe they shouldn't have called it Stories 2, you know? But that's smart. And then the other big news was the sudden Hyrule Warriors and Pikmin 3 livestream that the Nintendo Treehouse just pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah, this one super surprising to me.
Yeah, it was lovely. They announced it the evening before.
Yeah.
Cool. Do that. Love it.
It's nice to hear that we're getting more info on Pikmin, because this has been kind of quiet since it first got announced that they were doing the deluxe version.
Yeah, let's talk about Pikmin first, huh?
Yeah, sure.
So we didn't know what's new pretty much for Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So what we do know so far is there is going to be pretty much no real changes to the main story.
Which makes sense.
But also no change in resolution either, or frame rate. It's still 720-30. And it's kind of wish it could have gotten a little prettier. That's a pretty looking game. Yeah. Why not a little more resolution bump? But whatever, it's okay. I mean, not that it's okay, it's just that it's not that big of a deal to me, but I definitely wish that they would have, bumped it up something, if that were possible. I can't imagine that it isn't possible from the Wii U to the, whatever this is called, the Nintendo Switch. Whatever we talk about every goddamn week.
Yeah, I don't know. Upon hearing that, it's just, it feels very much like this is an easy port that Nintendo is trying to push out, which doesn't really support a lot of the negative claims that people have been having of just like, hey, Nintendo is just, they're just porting their old games. They've got nothing new coming out.
But it isn't like an easy port, really. It's more like that just isn't being touched, and then they are adding in a bunch of side stories with Olimar, which means that it's, a new narrative, which, Pikmin doesn't have, like, so much the narrative, but then there's also new stages and things that are designed. They have to redesign levels. So that's really cool. It apparently takes place before the main game does. Olimar is... the company that Olimar works for is in debt, and so they're sending Olimar out to go and make money for him, or money for the company. Mm-hmm. And Olimar's like, sure, I'll do it. Woohoo! Wrong game. And those side stories can be played co-op or single player. And co-op would be with, what's his name? Luigi? Lugia? Louis. Is it Louis?
Yeah, it's Louis.
There we go. Something that sounded like Luigi, that's for sure.
I was just seeing where you were going to go with that one.
And then they showed off Bingo Battle, a battle mode that I could see you and I playing very fervently.
So I will be completely honest, I missed
Have
this
not
part.
watched the trailer at all.
I had missed this part of it, so tell me a little bit about this.
It was half of the entire thing. You didn't miss it, you just didn't prepare. Episode 100, man. It was a 45-minute presentation, 25 minutes of it was on Bingo Battle.
So tell me about Bingo Battle.
Well, all right then. It's a 1 versus 1 mode.
Okay.
Jackass. And you get a bingo card. Each character gets a bingo card, and on there is, kill this enemy or collect this specific fruit or do whatever thing. So then you go out onto the battlefield that is shared between the two of you, and you try and, do a bingo card, basically.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
It's super exciting. What else do you have to say about it?
I would love to play this with you.
Well, we can't because it's co-op only, apparently. No online. There's no online, I don't think.
What?
Yeah. I think. I'm pretty sure that there isn't.
Nintendo. Sit down. We have to have a talk.
Sit down on my couch co-op.
Put away the Motorola Razr, because that's apparently the extent of technology that you believe in right now. Let's talk about this. Get your internet game sorted. I am so passionate, I just summoned a Mario
Created
Wahoo.
more work for Oni Dino in editing. That's what you did.
Mm-hmm. You seemed a little bit too peppy and energetic, so I'm trying to focus that energy.
Energetic? Peppy? The only time I'm peppy is when I'm Pepper Kebu, okay? So, Jama wo shinai de.
Yeah, Wakarima-sen.
That is a joke for only Japanese people, only over the age 40.
Yeah, so no one who listens to the show.
We have plenty of listeners in Japan. Peppa Kebu. Pink Lady.
Okay. I didn't understand any of that.
I know, it's basically a foreign language to you.
I know.
What are we talking about? Pikmin! Well, I guess we don't have anything else to talk about it since Galen didn't prepare for this damn podcast. Galen, did you know that there's a game called Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity?
No way!
Yeah.
I did know about that one. But for the sake of this podcast, would you like to explain it?
No, you explain. What did we saw? We saw Urbosa and we saw Zelda gameplay. Tell us about that.
I loved watching Urbosa fight. Like, I'm sorry, I have.
Are you saying you want her to just beat the shit out of you or what?
Sure, because she'll be styling all over the place as she does it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, like when it comes to action games and fighting games, I have a deep appreciation for characters whose fighting style
involves midriff.
Well, no, it feels like dancing more than it is fighting. Like a lot of the movements, a lot of what she was making, it was very fluid. It flowed so nicely from enemy to enemy to enemy. And then the whole thing of like summoning the lightning that just comes down at the end of her finishing move. It was like the grand finale of the entire thing. And when I saw her character in Breath of the Wild originally, I had secretly hoped that
she would step on your face.
That
I'll make it happen. I'll force it. Just like Urbosa will.
On my face. Don't make me call Mickey Rourke again.
He's already here, Galen. The call is coming from inside the house.
But yeah, no, I'm super ecstatic to see her. I cannot wait to play the game as her. Zelda looks a little weird for me. I'm not very much into her whole thing of like using the runes primarily as her attack basis. I mean, that seems cool, but it's just not my personal playstyle a lot of the time. But I love seeing the variety that's actually in there. So
it's gonna be cool to see who is gonna have multiple weapon styles, because like in Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, let's just say, most characters had multiple weapon styles. For example, Zelda had 3. She had the rapier, the baton like the Wind Waker, and then the Dominion Rod like from Twilight Princess. So I wonder if she's going to have multiple styles just because she's such a main character.
It could be. I would not be surprised if due to some story elements, when she finally does awaken her goddess powers, I think it was. What do they refer it to in the game? Yeah.
Who knows? Listen, I love Breath of the Wild very much. The narrative, though, in that game, completely forgettable. It was paper thin, man.
Yeah.
That's actually part of what I'm excited about with Age of Calamity. It seems to actually be more narrative than Breath of the Wild, possibly.
Yeah. No, I love because with Breath of the Wild, you had to discover the story, and the story was almost like a backdrop more than anything else.
Yeah, and it was always told to you. You were never an active player in the situation.
Exactly, which kind of leans into what the style of game that was.
That
was more about a game of exploring and creating your own adventures and creating your own story going along with it. There was backstory if you wanted to search for it, but it made you search for it and made you want to care about it. And if you didn't care about it, then it didn't have as much of an impact on you.
I mean, I cared about it, but I also wanted there to be a narrative that I was also actively participating in the main storyline, at least.
Yeah.
It was just defeat Ganon.
And I'm really hoping that with it being a present in the moment kind of circumstance, this game is going to answer a lot of questions, but it's also going to fill that void that, people like you actually felt in Breath of the Wild.
And just like Urbosa will do for you. Yeah. We have a lot of talented listeners. Now, I'm not asking for fan art to be commissioned, but somebody just feels like drawing Urbosa's high heel going into Galen's face, then that's just what they feel like, Galen.
I swear to God, if you commission that somewhere.
People do what they want.
Yeah. Getting back to the game and away from whatever fetish fantasies that you're having.
Galen.
Actually.
How dare.
Speaking of weird kinks,
what?
You can apparently find Koroks in the game for people who masochistically want to try to find all of those things.
Oh, yeah. I'm wondering if they're going to be like the gold Skulltulas in the first Hyrule Warriors.
I imagine they will be, and I imagine that there's going to have to be a lot of different circumstances and map settings that you have to kind of go into, kind of like in the first one, just in order to make the conditions right for you to be able to find them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, though, because if nothing else, it's at least a little bit of environmental exploration and looking at your environments. With, Warriors-style gameplay, you're running around, so typically you don't stop to smell the Korok seeds.
Yeah.
The Korok buds.
And they did kind of emphasize,
oh
like,
my god!
Hey,
why aren't Koroks called your buds?
I don't know. I'm not a writer
Why
for
aren't
Breath of the
Pikmin
Wild.
called your buds?
I'm not a writer for Pikmin. I can't answer that question.
Oh, I gotta talk to the localization team. Go ahead. What were you talking about?
No, I was just gonna say that I can't even remember what I was gonna say. Something about Koroks. They're in the game now. They did also showcase that in between your missions that you're going to be able to fuse weapons together in the blacksmith to be able to create stronger weapons. There's cooking that you can do.
Yeah.
And they did also throw it in there that each character that you're playing as has their own particular set of tastes. So not every recipe is going to have the same effect when you use it on the characters.
Right.
Yeah, and those effects can be like reduced fire damage, increased strength, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And each character has their own favorite too, and they'll tell you.
Yep. So, just overall, this game is looking a lot of fun.
I'm gonna guess right now that Daruk likes meat. Mifa likes fish.
Probably.
Urbosa probably likes some kind of
Spicy
vegetable.
Food. Spicy food.
Spicy food?
Mm-hmm. Because of the heat of the desert.
They don't eat spicy food in the desert.
No, but there are spicy foods that you can find when you're playing in the game.
Yes, but no, you don't, Oprah.
We're
you
just
do
throwing
eat
out
spicy
suggestions
food at
now.
night because of it being the desert. It gets cold at night. So do you remember in the desert in Breath of the Wild you had to suit up certain ways in the day versus the night because of the big...
You just had a fire sword and an ice sword, and you just, as long as you had those two, you were fine.
Not
You didn't need to
always.
equip.
Not always, bro.
Not always, Oprah.
That's just your name now.
Just Oprah?
Yes. Allow myself to introduce myself, and this is my wife, Oprah.
Oh, wow. That's an original Austin Powers joke. Wow.
Yeah.
I had to think back on that. It's like, where have I heard that before?
I don't know why it won't leave my mind. I could use the space for many other things.
Yes, you could.
Sugoi. Another little touch that I liked. They showed off the map, right? And then you select your stages based off of the map of Hyrule.
Yeah.
And that was really great. They showed off little quests and stuff. And the quests even have a little world building and a little narrative tied into it. So they gave the example of a young child in Hateno village wants to build a monster dummy to practice using his two-handed sword on. So Link gathers the materials to build the dummy, and you gather materials from defeating certain enemies in certain maps, blah, blah, blah. So Link gathers those materials, builds the dummy, and then the two of them train together. This is all just in a text thing. There's not a cutscene or anything from what we know.
Yeah.
But then the two of them train together, and then from completing that quest, Link learns a new move for the two-handed sword. And that could easily just have been a little collect 18 apples and then you can, get a new attack. Kind of like how the original Hyrule Warriors was, where just collect these materials and then it unlocks a new attack, whatever. But these little narrative bits, I love stuff like that. I love little world building like that.
Exactly, yeah. Also, they showcased different armor pieces in there as well.
Yeah, so you can mix and match.
Was that in the first Hyrule Warriors game, or was that...
They had costumes. Most often they were palette swaps. Some of the major characters had actual costume changes, but it definitely wasn't a mix and match kind of thing like Breath of the Wild.
I'm excited about that, and I'm really excited to see if they take that step to push that onto characters other than just Link.
Yeah, it would be a real missed opportunity if that's only for Link. I know it would be a whole bunch of extra effort, but I really hope that they do. I really hope that the game doesn't let me down in those ways. I have a feeling it will, though.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Either way, the gameplay is looking great, looking like a lot of fun. Can't wait to try it out. The gameplay looks very different from the first Hyrule Warriors. Of course, the core thing is there where it's like one versus many enemies. You know, on surface level, people might be like, oh, it's a Warriors with the Warriors clone, Warriors paint, whatever. Or no, Zelda paint. And it like very much isn't. Like, I don't know. It very, very much isn't. Between all of the different Warrior spin-offs. It's crazy how...
This feels like a different kind of Musou game.
Absolutely. And it's coming out in a month, a little over a month. Can't wait to play it.
It's really close.
I love when games are just announced and they come out very soon. So nice.
Oh my god. So, slightly off track. You know that I've been talking about the Baldur's Gate 3 game for a little while now?
I don't think you've ever talked about that.
Oh, I might have talked about it to you off the podcast, but I've been really excited for this game coming out. And
we keep this extremely professional here, our relationship.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And we don't have an HR department, so you can't make complaints about me. What is happening in my brain?
Yeah, that game just came out, and I completely spaced on the release date of it, and now I'm super excited, and I'll probably be talking about that next week.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah.
Heard it was very, very buggy, though.
I have heard very little reviews of it, so I'm going to wait the weekend, do a little bit of research, but, I mean, overall, even if it has some bugs, like, I've been kind of invested in the game, so I'm willing to give it a try.
Good. Cool.
There haven't been any atrocious HR allegations from the company. I think it's safe to take a risk on the game.
Oh my god, I know, right?
Let's see. A big video game's coming out. How many puppies did the CEO kick today?
Right.
I think that's an acceptable number. I can maybe do it. I don't know.
Never. And here we are in additional DLC where we recommend you something we saw on the internet. Galen, what did you see on the internet? So, Urbosa fan heart excluded. Okay. Your Shameful Urbosa folder does not need to be talked about on this podcast.
Well, I would, show the fan art that I've been writing on places like Instagram and other social medias, but after watching this documentary, probably not so much.
Dun dun.
So my additional DLC this week is a documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. It is all about how social media has been engineered to an unethical state to be basically programming to learn how you operate. What makes you tick, what makes you happy and excited versus mad, and how it doesn't care about any of that. It only cares about making sure you click on the next thing. It deals with certain issues such as being, the negative impacts that it has had on teenage girls, for example, especially in the States when it comes to the social pressures and that Instagram-esque era of perfection that is very toxic and very heartbreaking. Heartbreaking?
No, that's fine. That's what you said, and that's what it's going to stay as. Can you imagine being a preteen or a teen right now with all of the social media? I don't know if we talked about this before, but like sometimes I think about that idea and it just terrifies me.
Well, and I didn't really understand to the extent of I've had conversations with people in the past about this, and my stance has always been that social media and other aspects like that, like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, they are avenues of communication to be able to project your ideas and opinions out into the world, but also to communicate with other people. And that is a tool that has benefits to society.
Yeah.
Now, if people misuse that tool, i.e. the companies that are trying to make a buck off of all this, that's where the perversion of the industry starts to really kind of show itself. And it's hard for me to, it's very much a blame the gamer, not the game. I don't know if that's the right saying. It's very much of, I can't be one of those people who say, well, F off Facebook because, Facebook is the devil. No, it's the company that runs it. Facebook itself is just a tool.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. One of the things in this documentary goes on about how, it knows your personality type with the data that it's been able to collect, and it knows to a percentile what you are more likely to click on. If it gives you something that is going to make you really angry, you're probably going to click on that. And that's how things like fake news start to spread out.
Absolutely. Just headlines that are outrageous.
Exactly. But just watching this entire thing, and I'm thinking to myself of, if they have all this information, if they have all this understanding on a personalized level, how that could possibly be used for good. If you're somebody who's going through depression and showing signs of a downward decline in depression, if you're using social media as an outlet for that kind of thing, why can't social media help you and give you supporting links and give you things that would be able to change your mindset?
And that's what this documentary is about?
Well, no, but that's just something that I thought about.
Oh.
The documentary is very one-sided. It's very much of, I'm going to bring up the bad parts about this and kind of get the shock value. Also, it's got this weird, like, soap drama-esque, dramatic recreation in it about this family who is being, undergoing this whole social media thing. It's very poorly done and just kind of cringy.
Well, you're doing a great job of selling it.
But the facts and the people that they talk to in here are what's important, because a lot of the people that they're interviewing are developers for Facebook and Google and Instagram, people who have started committees of computer ethics within these companies. And those are people that are worth listening to.
Cool.
So, no, highly recommend giving it a listen to. It's kind of a shocker, so you have to be in the mindset of you're about to watch a documentary, but it's worth listening to.
So don't watch it on a Saturday morning and have a terrible rest of your day.
I watched it Saturday night with a bowl of popcorn expecting, this will be lighthearted. Nope.
See, you got to stick to those horror films, Galen.
Yeah.
I watched a great one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You know what? Screw it. It's two double DLCs that we do.
Okay.
One is The Clove Hitch Killer. It is a great film.
Clove Hitch Killer.
Clove Hitch.
Clove Hitch.
Yes.
Okay.
Go into it knowing as little as possible. It's a great, grounded, minimalist movie. It's almost like David Fincher-esque, about a serial killer. And it follows primarily the son in a family, and it's about how it affects his life, basically.
Okay.
It's really fantastic. Please watch it. I don't want to say anything else.
Okay.
Please watch it. I really recommend it to anybody who's into the horrors.
I have been looking for horror movie recommendations lately to watch, so
I have to correct myself.
Hitch Killer.
Clove Hitch Killer. It is not a horror film. It is a thriller.
Oh, so it's more psychological thriller.
Not psychological. It's just a pure thriller.
Okay.
And even like the moments of violence and stuff like that, it is just so grounded and so matter of fact that like there's no audio sting and audio tension buildup. Like that, just it actually happening is what makes it so tense.
All right.
My real DLC that I also had is a YouTube channel called Food for Dogs.
Aw.
Now, this is a lovely elderly lady who loves Japanese gaming and handheld gaming and weeb games, and I believe she's a Kiwi, New Zealander, and it is just a sweet, precious, peaceful time. It's very cozy. She does gameplay videos, game discussions. She shows off collector's editions and unboxings, which I'm not really into or anything like that, but just she has lots of different things going on there, and it's just basically because she likes these video games, and she just wants to share that with other people. At her, what's that called? Like an intro video or whatever. The last thing that she says is, like for her mission statement of her channel or whatever is, let's just hang out and enjoy the bestest hobby together.
Aww.
She's really a rarity. You should have Mary watch her. Mary would love her to pieces.
That is 100% heartwarming. Food for dogs.
Food for dogs. The 4 is the Arabic numeral.
You got it.
And now on to our listener feedback section of the show that we do. It's called Podcast. Galen, I forgot to get the iTunes review. Buy some time.
Yeah. I'm going
Don't bomb.
I'm going to remind everybody while he looks for one, because this is a professional podcast and we are 100% prepared. You should 100% be prepared to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Really helps us grow the channel. We've got a lot of aspirations of what we would like to do, but we can't do that without your growing support. And hey, if you want to leave a comment, we will definitely read it out loud, like this comment left by Oni.
I'm sorry, I can't remember if we've read these out or not anymore.
Just pick one.
But I think we might have read these out right. Yeah, I read that one out. Oh, I read that one out. Oh yeah, Judgmental Fool. Okay, that was the last one. All right, this great job. This next one comes from Trevor. Trevor says, my favorite Nintendo podcast. This is my favorite Nintendo podcast. I always look forward to it on my Sundays, and they never fail to... we read this last week.
You read that last week? Episode 100, people!
I told you it was going to be really bad. All right, this next one comes from Ananamja. Ananamja says, a fun listen. Everything I ever wanted to know about Nintendo, it's here. Thank you, Ananamja.
Thank you very, very much.
I'm pretty sure that's Korean. And we also have an email.
That we do.
Please send us your spooky stories so we can read it out, because this is a Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Please send those spookiest of spooky stories to NintendoEverythingPod@gmail.com.
Spook me real good, NintendoEverythingPod@gmail.com.
He wants to be spooked. He's begging to be spooked, really.
Just like Galen is begging for Urbosa to write him an email.
It's very desperate and very sad.
The pen is her finger. The paper is Galen's.
Where are you going? Where are you going with this?
Listener mail comes from Jay this week.
Hey, Jay, how's it going?
Oh, Jay.
Jay, please save us from ourselves with this wonderfully worded email.
You bring it up.
Jay writes, hey guys, it's Jay. Thanks so much for answering my question with the excellent discussion the other week on silent protagonist versus voiced.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for asking a great question.
That was a lot of fun talking about that one. So
we work with what we're handed. Wrong words.
You want to take 2 on that, or
never? I never do a take 2. My whole life is thunder, just like Urbosa,
spirit.
Shooting thunderbolts in your.
Well, it's lightning, not thunder. Just saying.
Oh, okay.
But in the spirit of Halloween.
Oh.
And scary things, my question for you this week deals with licensed games. Is there a licensed game that you played when you were a kid that you loved but is actually a terrible game? Mine is a toss between The Mummy Returns on the Game Boy Color or Van Helsing based on the Hugh Jackman movie on the Xbox.
Woof, Jay.
Yeah, seriously. How embarrassing. Both games are awful, but I was a dumb kid, played the crap out of that, and had a good time.
Do not censor
Thanks,
Jay's
guys.
sentiments.
Both games are awful. Oni is a dumb kid. and Jay played the shit out of that and had a good time.
Yeah, you can tell that that's exactly what Jay wrote because Galen didn't flub his lines.
It's true. I'll take a screenshot.
Jay,
right
thank you
after
so very much.
I type something.
No one is looking at your screenshots. Jay, thank you
Thanks
for
a lot,
writing in.
Jay.
Galen, do you have one? Yeah, I mean, you don't.
Ooh.
You haven't played a video game before because you have no hands.
No, it's true. I just have shark flippers.
Right.
And yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, playing licensed games, I was actually... The only one that's really coming to mind right now is an old one that I played for the PlayStation 1. It was a licensed version of The Fifth Element.
Oh, yeah!
And I remember thinking about it because I just remember how awful the combat was, because this was before they I think this was even before they had a DualShock technology, so you were trying to move everything with the D-pad still.
Yeah, it was like D-pad and shoulder buttons.
And an third-person shooter, D-pad does not make.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, no, that's a rough one. So... Other than that, I think I learned pretty early on just to shy away from a lot of like licensed games. The only one that really kind of like drew me back in was Batman, the Arkham series.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that was the first one that was just like, it's a Batman game. Okay, let's give it a try. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It's a shame you never played Batman and Robin on the Super Nintendo. That was a terrible licensed game.
Ooh, that sounds terrible.
They're like horrible game design, horrible everything, man. To use your grappling hook, you had to press like select and R.
What?
Yeah. No one has ever used that combination of video buttons.
That's terrible. To this day, no one has ever used it.
Yeah.
What about you? Is there any that are like really coming to your mind?
Tons.
Yeah?
Yes. One that fits this criteria, Jay's criteria perfectly, is the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon game on PS2.
Oh my God.
Do you remember this?
No. I remember the movie. I don't remember you playing this.
So, well, that's because I played it on my own with the door closed.
As you should.
As one does when they're looking at Urbosa fan art. This is a bad game. It's just a third-person sort of... Are you looking it up right now? I see your fingers and your sausage
want to.
eyes looking around. Exactly that. I mean, it follows the events of the game poorly, and you play as the characters from the movie. Whatever, you know what I meant. Sorry, I just said all that wrong. And you do like the same combo over and over again, which only Dino likes Muso games. Why? But no, you do literally like one combo over and over again. And there were level up mechanics, and I played that game so much. You could run on walls.
Hey, back then it was a rarity to be able to do that. So
no, Devil May Cry 2 came out. It was not.
Yeah.
That game sucked too.
So, you want to know another game that I just thought of?
No! Go ahead.
Simpsons Hit and Run.
That was a good game.
It was, I mean, retrospectively, if you look back at it nowadays, it is a hot mess.
No! I think it was pretty good.
Yeah?
It was crazy,
I remember having
taxi,
fun
wacky.
with it.
It was like intentionally wacky.
I'm trying to remember, because there was that... Maybe I'm thinking of the taxi game that they had. There were a couple of Simpson games in like the PS2 era that were just like...
Yes.
Most of them were pretty hard fails.
There was another one that was... I think it wasn't Hit and Run. It was the other one, and it was not so good. Hit and Run was the one that was very much like you go around, you pick people up, you go to other parts, and you drop them off.
That was like the GTA clone.
No, it was a crazy taxi one.
Really?
Because it was about picking people up. The GTA one, I think, was the bad one.
Okay, it's the GTA one that I was originally thinking of.
No,
but
Galen,
now I'm
who's
so
on
confused.
first? There was a Simpson game once, and it was bad, and Galen liked it.
Yeah, basically.
So, my gaming heyday, of course, is the Super Nintendo. There were a lot of licensed games back then, but a lot of them were actually good.
Mm-hmm.
So now I don't know. I think this one's pretty well regarded. Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, or Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. That was a beat 'em up, and it had so many different characters in there. Had a bunch of like comic panels to tell you the story. And it was great. It was super, super great. I don't know if it was actually like technically good or anything. I remember it being very difficult, but I beat it still. I'm a pro gamer. But just call me Prony Dino.
Prony Dino? Yeah.
Please don't call me that.
Capital G. Prony Dino.
Prony Gino. Prony Gino.
Prony Gino.
Anyway. That doesn't really fit Jay's criteria, but this might. Okay, there were 2 Power Rangers beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. I think they weren't very good.
Oh my god.
They weren't awful, that's for sure. They were definitely playable. Like there were some awful games that, like Batman and Robin on Super Nintendo, that were licensed, and they were just like garbage, like nearly unplayable. These 2 Power Rangers beat 'em ups were pretty good. I was pretty into Power Rangers back in the day. Mm-hmm. There was also a Power Rangers fighting game that was excellent. It was a 1v1 fighter, and then the people that made it went on to make the Gundam 1v1 fighter, because this fighting game was about you and your Megazords and stuff like that, and the monsters that were grown up to huge sizes by Rita Repulsa.
She lives next door in the dumpster next to us. On that note, I actually have a similar experience with a Power Rangers game. It was actually a Power Rangers game for the Game Boy, the original Game Boy.
Okay.
And I specifically remember loving this game as a kid. Getting it on, I think it went over out of state to visit like my grandmother or something. And I remember specifically taking a red-eye flight back home, playing this game, and then finally beating the final boss of the level. And this is like 2 a.m. on an airplane. Everybody's asleep. It is like the mid-90s. And, you know, whatever age-old Galen just goes, "Oh, yeah!" and jumps out of his seat and starts dancing around in the middle of the plane. And I just remember my mom, like, she was asleep and then juts away and was like, "Galen, sit down right now." I was like, oh god, I didn't care, because I had just beaten Power Rangers on the Game Boy.
How embarrassing.
You know what, I will own up to that, because that's why I'm the embarrassing weirdo.
That was the highlight of your life, Galen. How does it feel to peak so early?
You know what? It's good, because it's very freeing that, you know, there's never going to be anything better, you know? Marriage out of the country, yeah, no, not nearly as good as
beating Power Rangers at 2 a.m.
on a plane. Good times.
What do you think made so many licensed games bad games?
Just nobody caring about it. I mean, seriously, they looked at mechanical genres and said, "Oh, hey, slap a Power Rangers on there, you'll be fine." You know, Barney third-person shooter. Okay, let's make it happen. So a lot of the licensed games really just understood, like, this is a general concept, so it should sell and people are gonna buy it off of the box art.
There were a lot of really terrible Spider-Man games and X-Men games with really good box art.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even compare that to some of the licensed games that are today. You know, even the bad ones, like whatever that Avengers game that just came out by Crystal Dynamics.
Oh, I think it's called Avengers.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Disney's, Marvel's, Crystal Dynamics', Square Enix's The Avengers.
Yeah, basically. I keep getting mixed reviews on that because people say, hey, the mechanics are okay, but it fails when it comes to the online gameplay loop, and the microtransactions just absolutely butcher the game. But you can at least tell there was care that was put into the game and trying to give people a sense of what they wanted from the source material. So, yeah. And I feel like having that stigma against licensed properties have also made companies want to try that much harder to break out of that stigma.
I think it's not so much the stigma and like having like a genuine care or something. The people, like you and me, that are lowest rung of the ladder, they care, probably, but the big people in the companies, they just want their thing to be successful and make them lots and lots of money.
And how do you do that? You do that by making
make
something
a good game.
that you make a good game. Yeah. Look at the Batman Arkham
that's
games.
not like, it's not the stigma that made them do it. It's the green dollars. You see, they want the money, and then when they have the money, they want more of the money.
Yes, and they learn that to do that, they have to break away from that stigma and make a good game.
That's
as
not
opposed
what
to making
we're arguing about.
Cheap as possible.
It's like you don't listen.
I didn't know we were arguing.
What are we not arguing?
That's very fair.
My tin can just made a crack sound, and just like my heart, Tin Man. I hope this episode comes out. I might die before I finish editing it.
Well, you do have more time than normal to edit it together, so...
Has anyone seen my walker?
It's behind the old Japanese man in his underwear.
Oh, Jesus. I knew I left it in glorious country of Nippon.
This is full on like Looper territory. It's just a matter of that old
No,
Japanese
I don't
man
want to wear a
was
fake
you.
prosthetic nose that distracts the viewer.
No. That little old Japanese man, that was you in the future.
And so then did I Back to the Future it and then also write that song, I Think I'm Turning Japanese, I Really Think So, back in the 80s?
Yeah.
And actually it was just my manifesto, a cry for help?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I still live there?
Because you're still waiting for them to remake every SNES game.
Waiting for the train that will not come. Jay, thank you for whatever this was.
Because in 7 years, they are going to make a Chrono Trigger HD remake that is fantastic, but they make it in limited quantities. You never got a chance to play it, and your only way to play it is to go back in time and wait it out the long way.
Oh, that'd be poetic, Galen.
Mm-hmm. Especially about Chrono Trigger.
Yes. That was an accident, wasn't it?
Nope. Not an
yes,
accident
it was.
at all.
Yes, it was. I can hear it in your voice.
The most heartbreaking thing of it all, though, is that
you're still talking.
No, you're gonna die from a hernia like 3 days before it launches. So sorry.
You know what? Here's a little fact. Not a factoid, because factoid means wrong. Here's a fact about Oni Dino. Anytime I hear the word, what?
You're never gonna die.
I mean, I'm eternal. I've lived this long, Galen.
You've had to put up with me for this long, and that has been an eternity. So
3 centuries. Anyway, a little fact about Oni Dino is anytime that I hear the word hernia, I have to think hemorrhoid? Oh, no. That's the stomach one. Hernia.
This is a weird podcast.
No, it's fine. This is episode 100. This is the best podcast we've ever done.
Mm-hmm. Top tier quality.
Let's leave.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like straps and soups.
I'm tired.
What's coming out? It's coming up. NintendoEverything.com. Got some interviews coming up. Some sweet old interviews. 24/7 news. Our news team works harder than anybody. Well, I shouldn't say that. They work damn hard. Also, some videos. Bryce be putting up some videos on our YouTube. Check that out, youtube.com/NinEverything. Also, stay connected to us on Twitter. That's @NinEverything. You can stay connected to me on Twitter as well, @Oni_Dino. I also do a second podcast, which is really just an excuse to hang out with all of you. It is a live interactive podcast on a platform called Get Vocal. You can find links to it on my Twitter. It's a lovely time. It's unstructured. And I'm also a translator and writer on Silicon Era. Check out my articles on siliconera.com. Galen, What do you do, and who is your... I already made that joke.
Well, you can always see me restructuring jokes on Twitter at Mobius087. And definitely make sure to shoot me a message or two on our brand new Discord.
Discord!
Because I would love to start getting some suggestions on games that we can put together for community events. I've got a couple of like Jackbox games in the works. I'd love to play Among Us with you guys, like Smash Bros, Mario Kart. Like, there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. So let me know what you guys want to do. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Galen has sowed himself a seed, and he just needs you to water it so it will bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Bloom Galen.
Yes.
By joining our Discord with links in the description.
Absolutely.
Galen, for episode 100, I told a story. Why don't you tell a story?
So
you took too long.
So I remember a little over almost 2 years now, or a little under 2 years ago.
Boring.
When you went ahead and reached out to me, you said that, hey, I have a podcast that I've been running, and there's going to be an opening. I would like to continue it on. Do you want to come and be a guest co-host? And I remember being really excited and really happy about that. And I just want to say that over these past 100 episodes, this has been an incredibly enjoyable ride. Even with all of the terrible jokes and terrible accusations that you've made on my behest. It has been a lot of fun.
Galen, that was lovely.
Yeah.
You're so good at being sincere.
You get one every 100 episodes, so.
Well, thank you very much. I love having you on the podcast, and it's been a joy just doing this every week.
Yeah.
Except for when it isn't. Let's see next week if it's going to be a joy or it isn't. Until next week, for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything. Later, everyone.
Thank you.